2 weeks ago, we wrapped on the biggest project that we've ever taken on as a production company. A 4-day corporate event shoot with a deliverable list longer than anything that we've ever taken on before. Multiple recordings happening simultaneously on 7 different stages, as well as B-roll and interviews that we can then cut into a highlight video for future promotion of the event. In this video, I want to break down the exact 10-step pre-production process that we used to build the team, plan the logistics, organize all the kit and the gear that we needed, and make sure that everyone was where they need to be, when they need to be there, doing exactly what they need to be doing. And I forgot to mention, this project was 5,000 miles away. Let's get into it. So the first step of any project is really just digging into the details and defining the scope. This essentially involves sitting down with the client at the discovery stage of the project, understanding their goals and really what they're looking to achieve, and then working with that client to come up with a deliverable list that's going to aid in them achieving those goals. Once you've done this, you now essentially have a deliverable list that you can go ahead, build out your pricing, and also understand exactly the team that's going to be required to fulfill these deliverables. For this project specifically, we had one 2 to 3 minute event highlight video, one 2 to 3 minute awards highlight video, the A and B roll dailies from those event highlight videos, which is essentially all of the best B roll and all of the best interviews cut, colored and stabilized and then delivered to the client in 4K high-res MP4s. We then had 14 keynote session recordings on 2 cameras, 10 workshop session recordings on 2 cameras, 6 1 to 2 minute workshop mini highlight videos, so specific highlight videos focusing in on one session during the event, 30 short form workshop vertical videos, which is 3 vertical videos per workshop session that we recorded, all of the dailies from those mini highlight videos and workshop sessions, and then 2 more full session recordings, but these sessions weren't actually on a stage, they were at a booth during the event. I told you it was a big project. So we've been filming events for years now, and because of this, I have a pretty solid understanding of what kind of team I need to build and the specific roles that we're going to need to fill during a production. It just meant that for this project, we just had to upscale the amount of people that we were bringing on to fill those specific roles. For this job, I knew that I needed an on-site director, an on-site producer, 2 B-roll camera operators, 3 live talk camera operators, a production coordinator, and also an on-site or remote editor. In an ideal world, we'd be flying out all of the UK crew that we currently use and have worked with for years in order to deliver this project. Because of the budget and the fact that we were in the US, that wasn't really a viable solution for this project, which meant that only myself and Yasmin, who's my operations manager and on-site producer, were flying out from the UK, and then we had to source 5 local crew members from Dallas. I'm going to make an entirely separate video on how to find, source, and hire the best freelance talent that you possibly can within a local area. But in short, the process essentially just looks like, for one, putting up social media posts, reaching out to local production companies. All you're really looking for is to find one solid person that can open you up to their local networks. You don't need to reach out to every single person that you're going to hire. The chances are that when you find that one kind of golden solid person, they're going to have other people exactly like them that they work with. So really what you're looking for is that one local connection that's going to open you up to the rest of the group. Once you've reached out to local companies and found your connections, you're going to have a ton of portfolios coming through. Then what you need to do is review those portfolios just to make sure that they're up to the standard that you and your client expects from the production. You're then going to have tons of 30-minute meetings. I want you to record the calls and take notes during the calls, and then essentially just assess who you want to work with based on their personality, their kit, their rate, and just overall vibes that they bring to the project and the meeting. Obviously, you then need to agree on a final rate for the project and then write up all of the contracts and get them signed well in advance of the project. Make sure to keep an eye out for that future video that I'm going to release on finding and sourcing local talent. It may already be out by the time you're watching this, so go check out the channel after you've watched this video. Okay, so at this point we have the project scope and we have the team built. Now it's time to figure out all of the gear that you're going to need on the production. If you've ever flown with camera equipment before, then you know how much of a pain in the ass it is. You've got to deal with oversized baggage, weight allowances, carnets, multiple TSA agents investigating and talking to you basically like you're a criminal. Because of this, I rent most of the kit that I'm going to need locally and only bring the absolute necessary equipment or specific equipment that's not going to be flagged or cause suspicion when you go through security. Compiling a kit list is essentially thinking about every deliverable that you have to deliver and then just working out exactly what kit you're going to need for that deliverable. For example, with the highlight video specifically, I knew that I would need 1 camera for the interviews, a lighting setup, a handheld B-roll rig, and a gimbal B-roll rig. What I then do is note down all of that kit in a spreadsheet, and then in our final pre-production meeting with all of the freelancers, we can essentially figure out who's got what and then what we consequently need to go on to rent. You will also have a pretty solid understanding of exactly what kit the freelancers are going to to be providing during your initial meetings with the freelancers. You should be asking questions like, can you send me your kit list, or what kit do you currently have? Note that all down, and then when you're planning the kit list, you can essentially take from that information and then figure out exactly what you've got access to and then what you're going to need to rent. Kit rental is a fairly straightforward process. It's just a case of knowing exactly the specific pieces of equipment that you need, reaching out to like 3 to 5 rental houses, getting their quotes, and then you can negotiate prices based on the best quotes that came in. A couple of things to consider when you're speaking to rental houses is, for one, the overall ease of communication with that person, generally just how helpful they are as a company, their specific collection and drop-off processes and times, and their insurance policies for kit. Of course, as a company, we have our own insurance policies, but what I'd much rather do, specifically in a foreign country, is pay a little bit extra for the rental house's insurance, which means that if anything did happen, if kit ever was to be damaged, then we can claim on the rental house's insurance and not our own insurance, which will in turn make our insurance policy go up. So if something was to happen, you'd probably pay more for the additional insurance that you're going to need than you would do for just the rental house's insurance in the first place. Now we're really getting into the details with both the client and the team. The planning process for us starts with a meeting with the client, where we're running through about 30 different questions, all ranging from logistics, visuals, branding, strategic questions. We're asking stuff like, what's the purpose of the video? What's the story that we're trying to tell? How will we measure the success of the project? These questions are so critical for us to understand the actual purpose of the project and what we're there to achieve. It also gives us that information to refer back to when we're mapping out the creative side of the project. As well as these high-level questions, we're also asking stuff like specific breakdown of the event, which would be the agenda. Do we have a lockable media room that we can store our kit in? Which is the best loading bay for us to use? Essentially, what we're trying to do with this meeting is cover off as many details as we possibly can before we arrive on site, so that when we do arrive, we're not trying to figure out details there and then. We do as much planning before the shoot as we possibly can, so that for the most part, it's pretty much smooth sailing when we get on site in the craziness that is event production. Up to this point, you have all of these different pieces of information in documents, in sheets, in emails, and what you're trying to do with the pre-production document is bring all of that together under one roof, making it really easy for the freelancers, for the clients, for yourself most importantly, to understand every single detail of the production. We always start off with a quick project overview. What this is 1 to 2 paragraphs that sum up the project, the goals, and just state what you're trying to achieve. Here's the project overview for the event that we just wrapped on. OG Films has been contracted by Facilitate to produce a range of video content for the upcoming event, Advanced Therapies Week 2025. This event is the main in-person event of the year for Facilitate, bringing together conferences, communities, and market intelligence to connect and support professionals in the cell and gene therapy industry. OG Films is on site to produce multiple video deliverables for Facilitate, including highlight videos of the event and award ceremonies, full keynote recordings, workshop highlight videos, interviews, B-roll, and dailies. After this, we move into a section called Key Information. This is dates, locations, accommodation addresses, and travel plans. After that, we've got the crew and the contacts, which is every single person involved in the production, alongside their role and their phone number. We then move on to the deliverable section of the project, which is a list of every single deliverable that the project includes. And what I also do is I take each one of those, I define it, so I write a couple of paragraphs about exactly what it is and how we're going to do it. And then I have a reference video of something that we've done in the past, so that the crew can look at that, they can read the paragraph, and they can watch the reference video and totally understand exactly what that deliverable is. After this, we've got roles and responsibilities. This is a really key section. So what I do is I detail what the role is, who's going to be doing it, and exactly what I'm going to measure the success of their role on. I've then got a section called Asset and File Management. Now, this is probably one of the most important parts of the pre-production sheet because it tells the freelancers exactly how I want them to organize and categorize all of their files that are going to come off the back of the production. This is a huge project, and it means that if we're not organized and really careful with the way that we organize all of our files, then things are going to go missing. We're not going to know where things are. We're not going to back things up properly. So I would argue that asset and file management is probably one of the most important aspects of this production. Lastly, we've got the additional information section. I always like to put this right at the bottom of the document, and essentially what this is a place for all of the additional information that may come to light between the time of writing the pre-production document and actually arriving on site. All of that additional information goes in there so that you're not going to miss it if I add it into sections that somebody's already looked at. On top of the pre-production document that we just talked about, we also produced a master production sheet. This essentially is a spreadsheet that contains all of the logistical information about the project. One spreadsheet with multiple multiple different tabs that contain the following information: the event agenda. You've then got the daily production schedule, which is what each person is going to be doing and where, minute by minute, color coded based on the role. For this job specifically, we had 5 different daily agendas. So we had one for each day, and then we also had a separate one for the awards, because that's basically an entirely separate production, different location, different roles, different responsibilities. The next tab is the full recorded sessions. So each of the sessions that need to be recorded in full with timings, theatre numbers, sponsors, all of that detail. We've then got an interview list. So this was pre-planned in terms of the people that we were going to interview, but then we also did ad hoc interviews. So what we did was we took their name, their company, their job role, and added them into the interview list so that we could keep everything nice and organized. We then had a separate tab for interview questions, and this is based on the type of person that we were speaking to. So whether they were a speaker, a sponsor, an attendee, an exhibitor, they all had a different set of questions for each. We also have our kit and gear list, like I mentioned earlier, detailing exactly what we need for each one of the deliverables. And then finally, we had a files sheet. So the team uploaded all of their raw footage and all of their files into Google Drive, and then took the links and added them into the sheet so we could keep things super organized in terms of the data. Moving into the final stages of the production, there were additional documents that we created to make sure that every single detail was covered from our side. These additional documents include a full session recording SOP. This document essentially detailed every step that's required to record a full session or workshop using our 8M process. This just means that if a camera operator was working by themselves and no one could be there to assist them, then they have a step-by-step list of exactly what they need to do. We've then got the B-roll shot list. So you've all heard of a shot list before. This is basically just a tick sheet that B-roll operators can carry with them to make sure they're getting all of the necessary shots that they need for the final highlight videos, which are probably the most important and creative aspect of what we were there to do. I also broke down that shot list into shot type categories, so like establishings, registration, exhibition, emotions, and then what I also did is subcategorize that out into the specific highlight videos. So the awards, the event, and then the workshop highlight videos, every single shot that we needed for each one of those deliverables. And finally, I also produced a B-roll brief. So similar to the full recording SOP, because there were multiple things happening all at once and I couldn't be everywhere, I wanted to give the B-roll operators a brief that they could follow to make sure that they understand exactly what they need to be doing when they're shooting B-roll. So think like frame rates and specific shot types to capture and specific people to look out for. I essentially want to have me with them in written form so that I can essentially be controlling every single thing that they're doing and make sure that they understand exactly what they need to be doing when they're filming. Something that we've added into our pre-production process recently is recording a Loom video walking through every single detail in all of the documents and spreadsheets that we spent weeks creating. You have to understand that from your perspective, you've been in the weeds, you've spoken to the client and you've done all these details and you've researched everything. But for the freelancers, they're pretty much coming into this fresh. If you don't know what Loom is, it's essentially just a screen capture software that allows you to record your screen and your face at the same time. This just means that I can walk people through something as I would if we were on a call, and not just send them some lengthy document that, if we're being honest, no creative person wants to sit and read through. They may do it, but they're not going to take in that information as well as just having someone explain it to them. Once you finish the recording, what Loom will do is it will process the video, host it, and give you a shareable link. What you then do is you take that link and you put it into the pre-production document, so if the freelancers ever need to refer back or find the video and get more information, then it's just right there, easy for them to click on, and they've got the link to the Loom video. Once you have the final pre-production document, the spreadsheets and the Loom video, I add every single person into a group chat and I paste the links into the group chat. What I also do is I add these links into the group chat description so that if there's been a ton of messages, you don't have to scroll all the way back up to find the links. They're just easily accessible in the group description. After I've added in all the links, I'm then making a poll in the group chat with some suggested days and times for a final pre-production meeting. The team can then vote on the best day, and essentially whatever has the most votes, that's when you set the meeting on. The final pre-production meeting, in my opinion, is one of the most important parts of the process. For one, it's the opportunity for everybody to get to meet each other and you can begin to kind of see the dynamics of the team that you've built. But secondly, it's obviously key to making sure that everybody understands exactly what they need to be doing during the production and that all of the questions, comments, concerns are all ironed out there. It gives you the opportunity to do that before you turn up on site. One really important thing to say is just make sure that you record this meeting and then you upload that link into the additional information section within the pre-production document after the meeting's finished. finished. You can also add it into the group chat if you want to, but what this means is that for any reason, if somebody couldn't make the meeting, which likely does happen because freelancers are working on different projects all the time, if they couldn't make that meeting, then they have the Loom video, they have the documents, they have the meeting recording to all review and go over all of that information in their own time. It's also important to add that if somebody can't make the call for whatever reason, that's totally fine, but I am trying to have a separate meeting with them before we start on site. It's just for peace of mind to know that all of their questions, comments, concerns, they're all ironed out and that they understand everything that they need to do during the production. Okay, so that's it. Long video, but that's every single thing that we did within this 10-step process to make this project a success. If you did make it to this point in the video, then I just want to say thank you, and I hope that this video has been helpful for you to not only see how we go about planning a project of this scale, but also giving you some helpful insights that you can take into your own pre-production process as you grow and scale the size of the projects that you work on. Make sure to keep an eye out for the actual BTS of this project if that's something that you're interested in watching. But that's everything that I've got for you in this video. If you did enjoy it, then make sure to like, comment, subscribe, let me know that you're enjoying the content, and I will catch you in the next one. Take care.